And even in areas where the issue is hotly contested and lost by those who oppose the stimulus funds, it's a very close vote, similar to the 4-3 votes we've had here on such issues. So there is sentiment out there not to do this. And I'm sure that we can find somebody in this country who will belly up to that trough and take that money. I just rather that we don't do it. I also heard that using the councilmanic bond will lead to stagnation. Using the stimulus will create stagnation at the federal level, which will trickle down to us anyway, or roar down on us. And I don't agree that using the councilmanic bond will result in stagnation here. I think that if you're doing the same thing at the local level as you're doing at the federal level, the difference, you're borrowing money to spend money. And that's not much of a stimulus. But at least at this level, we control it. We control our own fate, and that's what I'm interested in.
And I think I'm sorry.
I just wanted, if we don't do the project, it doesn't save people $1.92 per ERU, because they're going to have to pay for the repairs until we do it, and then they're going to have to pay for the project when we finally admit that we should have done it long ago. So it doesn't really, it's not like by not doing the project, we're saving them that money. They're going to have to spend probably more over the time period.
I'm sorry. Can I just say one thing here, because he's looking directly at me? I think we've already approved the project being included in the scope of the East Street. Now we're discussing the financing. I don't think there is a question about whether or not we're going to do the project.
Then the other point, the point that I made really was that if you want to control that money, you have to take it. If you throw up your hands and say we won't take it, then somebody not nearly as responsible as we will take it. So if you actually want to control the money and do something responsible with it, you need to take it.
Control the stimulus money?
Right.
I don't want to.
John?
I just want to address a couple of points real quick. I've heard this over and over every time we have this discussion from those people who oppose our position of opposing the stimulus, that somehow we are against progress. And I just want to really stomp all over that right now. Progress has nothing to do with what the government does and everything to do with what the private sector does. And we are very excited to see and hope to see economic development here. But just because we oppose the stimulus does not mean we oppose progress. We just have a different way of looking at what that progress looks like. It's not stagnant. It's just more about self-reliance, self-sufficiency, the ability for us to call the shots and not someone at a higher government level. We care deeply, I care deeply about this community and about Washougal and about the direction we're heading. And I hate to see us join the pack just because we're all being told to go to the conference center right now to go to because there's an emergency and all of us need to take this money. I'm just not buying it. And I really hope, I really hope that I'm not standing in a position where I said I told you so. I really hope that. I hope you understand that. But I will side on the side of us having the control over these finances, not the federal government. Thank you.
Right.
Well, ultimately here, we're talking about whether we're even going to do it. And all we're actually for tonight here is let's apply for it. It's simply a tool. When it gets down to that in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, however it is when we get here, let's talk about it. But I heard Councilman Russell say, Mr. Mayor, I hope you don't even bring them back to us. And I think that's totally wrong about for the citizens of Washougal. I think this is a tool, and I think we should have the options put before us. For you just to simply say, no, we're never gonna talk about stimulus funds again, I think you'd be doing the wrong thing. This is a tool. We're simply debating the tools. We still have to go through the application process to find out if we even qualify for it. At that time, then we can come up with, and we've actually asked a ton of questions tonight that RJ and Mr. Scott can get back to us on. But tonight, it's just simply to pass the motion to allow us to use this tool and work our process through this.
Sure, and that's still, my colleague, I appreciate that, but, we are discussing the application process. We're discussing whether or not we're going to ask someone to dangle a carrot in front of us. I think that is, at the end of the day, that's what we're asking the federal government, will you give us this loan? And then when it does come to us, well, we're foolish not to take it. Well, I'm opposing this now so we don't get to that point.
Dave?
I think that the timeline that we're operating under, and I look at this as a project manager, which is part of my background, we're under time pressure to get the application done, to get the funding, get the project started, and get it done on time, to make use of some of the loans that we've got. I think that if you bring this loan back and it gets rejected, I think that interferes with the timeline of the project sufficiently that we might lose the funds that we already have to work on the East Street project itself, the road diet, as opposed to the water mains. So my concern is that we settle this thing here tonight so that we don't interfere with the timing of the project and jeopardize the money we've already got for the East Street road diet, which I don't like anyway, but we're gonna do it. I wanna get this issue settled and get on with it.
Yeah, I think reasonably the only way you could possibly completely settle it this evening, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to flat out use cash reserves to do it. Even if you decided this evening, for whatever reason, you don't want to do the USDA loan either 20 or 40 years, and decide to go the Councilmatic bond instead, once we still won't have settled it. We still have to form the agreement, we still have to form the bond, we still have to be able to sell the bond at a favorable rate in order for it to be settled. The only way you could settle it tonight is to say that you'll obligate whatever number up to $2 million of cash reserves that are on hand and call it good.
Well, I just want to settle the issue of the funding. If we're doing that with cash reserves, what we're doing is we're putting it on the credit card, betting on the come that next month, next 2 months, next quarter, whatever, we're going to be able to pay the credit card off.
Yeah, I wouldn't see it that way if you use cash reserves.
Wrong analogy. We're emptying out the savings account.
You won't empty it, but you'll take it down significantly.
Okay. And that's my concern. That's, for me, at this point, the way this city is run, that's not an overwhelming concern for me. It's something that, the red flag comes up when we start talking about this.
Yep.
But I think the management we've got in this city, I'm comfortable with doing that for the right fundings.
Right. Any other comments from council? Paul?
Just one more. I want to reiterate that if you use a council manager